There's no destination. There's just the journey.
It's incredible how much you can flow with life and not be pushing against it.
95% of this, from my perspective, is the mindset behind it.
Not only very impressive, but it's also just very inspiring.
Build up new habits about how you're going to live.
Oh, I just love this so much. Welcome back to I Can Fit That In, the podcast where ambition meets alignment. And today's guest embodies that philosophy on every level. Maurice Philogene is not your typical businessman. He's an investor, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and coach who challenges the status quo and teaches high-performing professionals how to try life on. What is his secret, you may ask? Well, Maurice says it's asking better questions and leveraging both his 9-to-5 job and passive income to beat the system and build a life on his terms. Today, Maurice is the founding managing partner of Quattro Capital, a real estate private equity firm, and the founder of Try Life on Media, where he shares his wisdom on how to cultivate financial, time, geographic purpose, and relationship freedom. He is a world explorer who has visited 100 countries over 300 times, owns thousands of properties across the United States, and even develops properties in the Mediterranean just to immerse himself in the culture. Maurice's message is clear. The only way to know what is possible is to try it on. So today we are diving into his journey. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and energized by the one and only Maurice Philogene. Maurice, I am so excited to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. And I don't know when that intro is going to come up, but you can come with me wherever I go ever. If you will do that intro, I sounded so good. That intro, like, damn, I want to meet this guy.
Right? It's recorded now, so you're happy.
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
4 careers at one time. I mean, first of all, what an accomplishment. But secondly, whoa, did you ever burn out is my first question. Given my show about burnout to clarity, high performers really finding their way and defining success on their own terms.
Yeah.
What was that like for you as you moved through 4 careers at the same time?
Did I ever burn out? Yes, I did. I had my moments, but in relation to the whole thing about Try Life On and the way that I think about life, when I look back on it in reflection, what I was very good at was realizing I needed to practice the rhythm. Life is a rhythm. My burnout didn't come because I did 4 careers. We're all busy, and I can talk about that all day, like how I did it. But the burnout didn't come because I had the 4 careers. The burnout came because I wasn't integrating it very well.
Yes.
And people think that life is this destination thing. There's no destination. There's just the journey. And it's actually a rhythm. You have to practice it. So I mentioned to you that I live in the Middle East and I come back to Maryland and I go back to the Middle East. Life is this rhythm. So the burnout came, don't get me wrong, I got tired, but the burnout came because I decided to take all those things on because I wanted to experience life. And I did not want other people's versions of success. So I'm not suggesting that people do what I did, people do what I did, but I did it because I wanted a particular life book and I also wanted the financial reward that came with it. But I smartly took all those financial rewards, turned them into passive income, and now I live off that for the rest of my days, not even at 50 yet.
I love that. And what is really resonating with what you said, when I hear you speak those words about rhythm and about defining success on your terms, not living it on someone else's definition of what that means, what comes to mind is intentionality.
Yeah.
And being intentional, as simple as what rental car place you're going to, what airport you're flying in and out of, how you're spending your time, what your days look like, where you live. I mean, these are really, really big things, but also the tiniest decisions in each and every day. When you make them intentional, it's incredible how much you can flow with life and not be pushing against it.
You can flow with it. Interestingly, so when I became a police officer later in life because I was also a federal agent in the military. I did a lot of things when I first deployed. I did some search warrants in the DC area as a federal agent. And then I interacted with this police department called the Montgomery County Police Department. Without leaving corporate, I went to police academy, ended up in 5th district, but I knew intentionality. I knew to get down to the 3rd district because I live in the 3rd district. Court would be in the 3rd district, and the metro station was right behind Court. Without realizing it, what I was actually doing was design my life. But to your point, there was some intentionality behind it.
Absolutely. I would say there's so much behind it. Even if you didn't see it necessarily that way initially,
Yeah,
you became very intentional as you moved through that process.
I did. I think now, looking back on all the things that I've done, I think I had it subconsciously, but was executing unconsciously is
Yes.
what was happening. I'm just aware of it now.
Yes.
Very aware.
Yes. Sometimes I always say that change happens either by design or by disaster. And I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I'd
Yeah.
much rather be the one designing the change
Yep.
than going through the disaster that leads to change,
For
right?
sure. For
And
sure.
so sometimes you don't know it. You don't know it's consciously changing, but you're maybe driving yourself towards something. But
Yeah.
then the way it unfolds
Hmm.
becomes more intentional as it moves along.
And that's the key. Hmm.
You get to this point where you look at your decisions that led you to where you are, and you realize, gosh, I've got this great corporate career. I'm making the money. I've got the title. I've got the
Hmm.
things that come along with that.
Hmm.
But how fulfilling is that lifestyle? And have I specifically chosen that lifestyle, or did I just fall into
Was
it?
a default.
That pivotal moment for
Yeah.
you. Let's talk about that. What was
Well,
that pivotal moment?
I traveled in France for 30 days when I was 15, changed my life. I felt emotions and feelings. And I legit, if you go on the emotional frequency chart, the Hawkins emotional frequency chart, I think that at age 15, I hit some level of enlightenment because I was having all these emotions about, is this what life is supposed to feel like? Am I supposed to have experiences? I'm making these wonderful relationships. This is different than inner city Boston. It woke me up.
You can't just gloss over that because that is not something most people are aware of. So what Maurice is talking about is
Yeah.
Dr. Is it David Hawkins?
David
Right?
Hawkins. Yeah.
And there's a book that is it's on transcendence, power versus force.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is where the emotional frequency chart is outlined.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read that book. I read it years ago, and it's a really tough read. But people, if you do anything, just look up the frequency of consciousness or the chart of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
because it is truly mind blowing. And Maurice, why don't you tell us a little bit more just about that chart and then go back into your experience of enlightenment?
The bottom of the chart is weak, destructive energy, and you can feel your emotional level. So I'm going to work my way up the chart. The emotional level is shame, guilt, I'm going up the chart. Shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, anger, desire, anger, pride. Those are all energy contracting emotions. It's weak, destructive energy. And a lot of times people make decisions when they are in those states. Once you can get to the level of courage, energy starts to expand, and you work your way up the chart. Courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and then there's enlightenment. And I said I think at 15 I hit enlightenment. I'll actually say joy. Enlightenment's like Jesus level. Like I wasn't at Jesus level.
Yeah.
But I was happy, and something happened and something clicked. And what I've learned as an adult, if you can understand where you are on the frequency chart, you can understand what you need to do in that moment, whether it's a business thing, a family thing, a life related thing. So I don't make decisions when I'm in the lower frequencies. I go to bed. I shut it off. You have to slowly work your way up. Go for a walk, go for a run, lift weights, watch your favorite romantic comedy, something that gives you good vibes, and you'll slowly eat some pizza if that's your thing. Have a glass of wine, something that gives you good vibes, and you work your way up. So by the time Monday comes around, when we meet again, our frequencies will be totally different and we'll make a better decision.
Yes.
It's important.
I mean, okay, so not only am I just so excited you brought that up, because I already knew that we were kindred spirits, but
No
like
doubt.
now I am just like the universe connected us for a reason.
I know
Never an
after reading your
accident.
story.
Yeah, never an accident.
Yep.
And so I teach a lot about that consciousness chart to leaders and executives in my cohort program. And the reason I do is I want them to understand exactly what you just said. So I'm so glad you just explained it to everyone, not just people in my cohort. Now everyone who listens gets to hear about that. The important part is you talked about, and this is where the show is really important. You talked about what are those rituals that you actually practice in your life that raise your vibration.
Oh, They're on my wall. They're on
Yeah.
my wall. They're
What
literally
are those
ready.
things,
I'll tell
right?
you.
Like
I tell
fuel yourself and
this is it, it's unique for each person. Meditation is one for me because it shuts my mind down. Sleeping is a way that I can cut off negative vibrations. Leaning into my two kids, investing in superstar people. So if I feel shitty about myself or my day, I find someone to spend time with and help them. But once I learned about it, I reflected on it and saw how it impacted my journey. And now going forward, like today's a very good day for me to be talking to Erin. If it wasn't, I would be like, listen, I don't think we should do the podcast in a few
right.
times. I
Right.
may say something silly.
Yeah. And don't you think people in kind of that 9 to 5 world that you and I both lived in for a very long time
Mm-hmm.
could benefit so much from understanding their own energy? Because if you
Of
think about
course.
a lot of the tensions
Yeah.
in the corporate world, a lot of those tensions are actually self-perpetuated. I know in my own experience, years on Wall Street and when I was anxious and stressed out all the time,
Yeah.
was the environment partially the issue? I did have a toxic boss, yes, but a lot of it was that I was in a frequency that I didn't know how to get myself out of, and I didn't
Yeah.
give myself the attention that I needed.
What I tell my coaching students, my kids, and people I care about now is you cannot control your circumstances, but you can control your reactions.
Yes.
You cannot control the vibration of the environment. You can remove yourself from it. I did stay in corporate 25 years, but I did something very, again, 23-year-old me, I love him. What he did was he recognized the corporate environment for the status quo nature of it. The 2013 incident was I got to a certain level. I'm like, I'm not getting more freedom here. There's something off about this. And then I built this whole freedom plan and I got my freedom. So I went analyst to consultant, consultant to manager, manager to senior manager, and senior manager. And they're talking about me entering the partner track. And I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a second. What the F is this? Because you guys are going to pay me a little bit more money, but now I'm going to have 300 people that I'm responsible for. I'll have management scrutiny. And now I'm not putting my energy out like that 15-year-old kid who went on that trip. So I changed everything. I
Wow.
started declining promotions. I created a freedom plan, how I was going to take systematic money from my paychecks and buy real estate, et cetera, et cetera. Changed my whole dynamic. And people didn't realize it. They were like, what's wrong with you? How come after 20 years you're not a partner? And I'm like, don't matter. No biggie. But what they didn't realize is the reason I didn't go for partners because I was not interested in their version of success. I was interested in mine. I was building a massive portfolio on the outside of real estate, but I was also building a life book by taking all those trips, by trying out for the NFL, by being an actor. And people who are burning out, you know why they're burning out? Another reason why they're burning out is because they are defaulting to other people's versions of success, doing shit they never wanted to do in the first place because the formal school education system spit them out with the employee mindset.
Yeah.
And it is very hard. That feeling that people get when they are sitting in traffic and they're just like, what the hell is it? You know what it is? It's your subconscious or your self-concept of what you're supposed to be calling you. It's calling you.
Yeah.
And then that emotional tearing that you feel is the best version of you is over there, but you're allowing the default version of you to persist.
It's so true. And sometimes I say that, for some people, look, there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5 job. There's nothing wrong with it. And for some people, it's the right place to be. And yet, if you can't live that life in a way that feels fulfilling, there is something else calling. And you have to figure out what that is. And the only way to figure that out is to fit in things that matter to you and fill yourself up anyways while you're doing that job. So, Maurice, you've done this beautifully. When I talk about fitting things in, I talk to people about this is minute stuff, right? Just start small. Can you fit in a meditation in the morning, right? Because you want to meditate and you've never done it. Can you fit in reading 10 pages in a book each day? Can you fit in making your own coffee instead of just scrolling on your phone? Like, what are those things that you can start to fit in? And I think this is the thing. Access your creativity. How many things were you doing on the side, Maurice, in your 9 to 5 job where you were accessing your creativity?
Opening clubs, opening restaurants, failing a coffee shop, miserably failing in the 2008 downturn of real estate and almost quitting, trying out for the NFL twice, didn't make it, went back to grad school to try out for that second time, acted in several movies, bunch of TV commercials, street cop, federal agent, starting the equity firm, taking care of my 2 boys. When people say they don't have time, my statement to them is you have time, you just lack commitment to self. And let me prove it. There are 24 hours in a day, we got to sleep 8 of it. Okay, so we'll just take the 16. I was very good at creating and protecting time. All right, so 4 a.m. was my prime time. 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. 5 days a week. That's 20 hours a week, 80 hours a month, 960 hours a year. You've created 5 point something weeks. I can't remember the exact thing anymore. If you add another 4-hour block on Saturday and Sunday, you've created 2 months. So you've created a 14-month year. But when do you sleep? You go to bed early. You don't binge watch Netflix. You don't have the 7 beers. Now, I would never go to work tired because you're risking people's lives or stuff like that. So I would use my vacation strategically stuff. You have time. You just don't have commitment to self, and you're also executing somebody else's version of success. I was motivated to live that way because it was
Right.
my version. Yeah.
Right. And what also comes to mind is, I just think about people I know, like you, like me, people who are living these freer lives
Yeah.
and finding success on their own terms.
Yeah.
Everything does not have to be so rigid. When
No.
your life is so rigid and it is so rinse and repeat,
Mhm.
is when burnout really does settle in, actually, regardless of your job. Right. And so I think people have this mindset sometimes where they just need to not work in order to be happy. No, 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 no. Because as soon as you're not working, you lose your job or
I've
you
done it.
can't
You don't
work
want
or
to
who
do
knows
that.
what. No, then you're going to be very miserable. So
Yeah.
what it's about is looking at your life and saying, where does it feel very rinse and repeat, very monotonous? And
Mhm.
where can I start to inject some things that matter
Mhm.
to me, that fuel me, or that are just creative endeavors, that are
Mhm.
just something unique and different? And it doesn't have to be overhauling your life, but start putting some of these other things in. You just gave us an incredible list of all kinds of stuff that you fit into your life because it mattered to you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the things that you named, along with having multiple careers at the same time, it's absolutely like astonishing that you could pull all that off. And yet that motivation, that intrinsic motivation that you had to do it because you knew the life you wanted to design
Mhm.
is just, it's not only very impressive, but it's also just very inspiring.
It was right for me.
Yeah.
It's not right for everybody else. And I don't want anyone thinking that success means you got to hustle on the outside. I enjoyed my corporate career. It's just that I did the right thing, created roles, and my last boss, Elaine, I love her to death. And she would ask me every year, Maurice, what do you want out of life this year? And I would tell her, I'd be like, listen, I would go right back to her. What is the outcome you need this year for me? Well, I need 25 million in contracts. Okay, I got the outcome. I'll be back in 3-4 weeks. And she was like, what do you need? I'm like, just hide me from upper management. I don't want any scrutiny. I just want my checks and I will just get you the outcome. And
Mm,
because I did it that way, I never felt like overly upset about my career. I was leveraging 9 to 5, if not more than it was leveraging me. And on
yes.
year 25, I was like,
Yes.
I'm ready to roll out of career highway and onto lifestyle lane now.
Yeah.
And then I left.
I don't know about you, but many times with clients that are wanting to do something different,
Hmm.
they want to be a coach or they want to start some sort of business
Hmm.
and they look at how others are doing it, myself, you name it. And they go, well, yeah, I just want to do that. I want to do that. So how do I go from this to that? How do I go from my 9 to 5 to that? And I'm always like, you got to start to just do it, first of
Yeah.
all. So start to do it and
Yeah.
see if you're actually good at it and enjoy it. And if you are, then you can build a business around it. But you have
Hmm.
to start to offer something and or develop your skills in something to know if it's even going to be the thing.
And the funny thing is, time is going to move anyway. It doesn't matter. The outcome doesn't matter. You're going to learn something. Something's going to happen. You're going to meet an Erin. You're going to meet a Maurice. It may even pivot you organically to something radically different. But one of the things that I tell my coaching students is stop worrying about the what. Find a who. So I developed real estate in the Mediterranean. Now I'm not a real estate developer. It's just that I wanted a Mediterranean life. So my reticular activating system, my brain picked up on a conversation. A husband of someone I went to college with, he was born in Cyprus. He's a real estate developer. So I found a who, and I got on a plane 30 times until he took me on as a partner. So now I'm a real estate developer on the island. What people get stuck on is the what. Stop getting stuck on what, find a who, and also realize that 95% of this, from my perspective, is the mindset behind it. I live the way that I live because I'm unapologetic about it, and I could care less about the opinions of peers, family, coworkers, and neighbors.
Right.
Those things have been killing people's dreams for decades.
Mm-hmm.
You just do what makes sense for you without care of opinion. And there's 9 billion people in the world. If you're going to try and get validation or convince people, you'll never get anywhere. So you just do it. And one last thing on that topic, in reflection, the thing I did really well in those crazy years of 4 careers and all the stuff that I was doing, I didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew. There was very few people who knew I was a police officer at night and an exec during the day. Very few people knew I owned a restaurant. Funny thing, Accenture had an event at one of my restaurants, and I walked in and they're like, "Oh, we don't think you're supposed to be at this event." And I said, "Oh no, I own the restaurant." You got awesome. Like, as an inner city kid, what's wrong with him? He's not a partner. You have to, you can imagine how I felt when that happened, because it was some of the senior partners. Like, he owns a restaurant. I created my own shit. I did it my own way. So,
right.
You gotta take initiative and just do.
And I like that. Like, you know what? It really is no one's business, right? It's no one's business how you are living the life that you want to live. As long as you are ethical and moral and you're a good person, everyone can leave you alone and you can do your thing, right? And you allow in the energy, the people, the exchanges that you want.
That's it. Because if you tell people, what they end up doing is they throw their fears on you. Hey, it is not possible to live in the Middle East and commute home on a Monday to take your son to school. It's not possible. Oof. Yeah. The worst thing in life is regret. You don't want that. Just go do it anyway.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that so much. Go and do it anyway. What is the one truth that you wish people understood about time and energy and intentionality?
Number one, try life on principle. Status quo is a default language that you do not have to follow. All the standards that we exist in were created by people no smarter than Erin or Maurice. All the standards that are created were people no smarter than you and I. So here's my example. Police department. I'm bringing it to stuff that people can understand. Yes, I was an executive by day and a police officer by night. How can you do that? Well, I did it 5 years, full time. It was a mess. I was burning out. I almost left. And then I said, I'm going to convince the police department that I was police officer level 2. I was not a level 3 yet, which is a senior police officer. I'm going to convince them that they need me. I'm going to create a solution so compelling that they cannot say no. And they're going to let me into what's called the job share program, which is essentially 2 officers sharing one position. So instead of me being responsible for 40 hours a week, how can I be responsible for 20 hours a week? Because I really want to be a police officer, but I can't keep up. Like, I'm a dad. I got all this other stuff going on.
Right.
So I just made it happen. Because those policies were written by someone no smarter than you and I. So I went to the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, then I went to HR and I said, I've been a federal agent for almost 20, well, whatever it was at the time, 16, 17 years. I've done murders, fugitive retrievals, And then now I've been a senior police officer. I've been part of the most productive shift in this county for the last 3 years. You don't want to lose me. I also have an autistic son at home. He gets my attention, and I'm about to leave. Open the position to police officer 2, rewrite the regulation, and I will stay. They rewrote it in a second. I don't accept, no one should accept status quo language. No one.
Amazing.
No one.
Right.
So that's the number one thing. Status quo is this freaking default language that we were taught all through school. And then you have to be the partner to be seen as successful.
Yeah.
All those partners are asking me now, how did you do what you did? I wasn't
Right.
chasing your version.
Right. And people just get in line and they just keep following rather than stepping out and saying, wait a minute, that I don't have to be in line. I don't have
Because
to.
we're not taught to step out, because when you stepped out in school, you got detention.
Right. Right. I also caught the fact that you talked about how you know all these things, obviously your time as a federal agent.
Yeah.
And you also, you were an engineer, you went to engineering school, right?
Yeah.
You grad? So
Hmm.
I started as an aerospace engineer, started
Yeah.
college. I was one of 80 people, one of 5 women to be in that
Nice.
major.
Nice.
However, the only reason I wanted to do it is because I wanted to know all the secrets that they know about other planets and life on other planets. Because as a kid, I was like, I was so connected to the stars, and I was like,
Yeah.
I know that there's life out there. I just know it. And so I was like, I'm going to get into the government. And I'm going to find out what really goes on. And then I realized I didn't want to be an engineer.
Ooh, I think my job as a police officer, and even when I was a federal agent and a top secret clearance and all that, and lieutenant colonel, my job was to allow the citizens and country that I serve to live in ignorant bliss. Not everybody on this planet needs to know everything that's going on, and you don't want to know everything that's going on. And that's what I mean. The more you give it attention, the more it perpetuates.
Yeah.
The more you focus on your own world, the more happiness you create. So the
Yeah.
things you can't control, let that be. The shit
Yeah.
that's going on, let's say wartime stuff, and you
Hmm.
cannot control it. Don't like my mom would ask me all these questions. Like, first of all, mom, I can't tell you because it's
Yeah.
all classified information. But
Right.
secondly, now after being retired for 5 years, I don't want to know.
Yeah. You direct your mindset.
I do.
And I believe that that is what most people are truly after. Like they
Hmm.
want to be in alignment
Hmm.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, right? Your well-being, how you walk around this planet, how you fly, how you move around this planet, how you engage with other people, how you engage with your own life.
Hmm. Hmm.
When that feels aligned, you
Hmm.
feel whole.
I am whole now because 3 years ago something happened which forced me in. All the stuff that I told you, while it's nice accomplishments and stuff, it was all external. Build this, invest in that, create this, travel there. It was all external. And something happened relative to a relationship a few years ago where I couldn't solve the problem how I would normally solve problems. And I was forced in. And when I was forced in heavily. And it was I'm just coming out of it probably a year ago. I found my alignment. I found the relationship between subconscious and unconscious. I found that imagination is our greatest tool set because everything comes from imagination. I found manifestation to an extent. I found building meaningful relationships in a very unique way. So the people that are around me, I don't do this anymore where I go a mile wide and an inch deep with people. I just want 6 people or the errands of the world, and I will reinvest. I will fly to you. I will spend time with you. But that stuff takes time, and it either comes as a result of some crazy thing that happens to you, or you just wake up naturally. But alignment is not easy. It has to do with inner work. It has to do with personal peace. Personal peace for someone could be $2,000 a month and living in Thailand. Personal peace for somebody else is 100 million a year and doing what they do. But
Yeah.
they're there if
Yeah.
you can find them. And I tell you, they're not broadcasting overtly,
No, but they're
but they're
extremely
there.
present.
They're
Yes.
there. If I
Yes.
sense I can help someone, I do. If I sense that I would be swimming upstream to try to help somebody, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
Right. Right. No, because you're going to attract the people who you're meant to help.
Yeah, and I want to be around the errands of the world who get it, and it
Right.
just makes my life better. And I like learning from people, and so I'm grateful for what you said from an accolade, and he did all this, and I realized that stuff has nothing to do with me at all.
Right.
I was just 23-year-old me wanted to fill a life book. He created it. This version of me wants emotions and relationships out of life, and
Yeah.
I attack that like nobody's business.
Love it. So inspiring. What would you say? Let's close out
Yeah.
with giving my listeners, let's give them 2 things. What's your number 1 tip for how they can cut out some of the noise, some of the things that don't serve them?
Mm-hmm.
And then what's your number 1 tip how they can fit in a thing, just one thing, it could be something small that is for their greater good or for their future self, something that will fuel them and help ritualize a part of their life.
I wrote a post literally yesterday, and I said the world is very loud, but my mind is not. And I gave for all the reasons we've already talked about, so I won't rehash it. But I gave people some things to try. Okay, 6 actually. I said when noise is filtered, your signal becomes strong. That calm enhances everything. And I said it's not magic; it's boundaries. Try this. Avoid social media that drains instead of inspires. If the topic of conversation doesn't serve you, step away. Skip filler-filled Zoom calls. I don't This is not fill or fill. This is legit. But I don't need a Zoom call for an hour where we talk about 2 minutes of business. Skip the fill or filled Zoom calls. Use voice notes. 95% of what I do from a business perspective is via voice note because there's no friction to it. My investors know it. My coaching students know it. I work by voice notes. Stop fear-filled online news flooding your mind. That was number 4. This is one of my favorites. Default your cell phone to do not disturb. Because my brain is never hearing sounds or badges or whatever, I never look for my phone. The only thing that comes through on my phone is the special list that I have that will break through, like my 2 kids, my mom, my dad, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, this is a big one for me. Environment. Make your environment where peace is the default, not the reward. So when you hear me saying I'm going to the Med, well, he's on vacation a lot. No, I'm not. It's my peace. It's where my nervous system is calm. I'm happy. Yet I was just telling this to my son because he was playing all this music before he goes to bed. I'm like, dude, your nervous system's gonna go nuts. Put on some nature sounds and stuff. And now when he goes to bed, he listens to the sound of a stream of a river. He's like, Dad, I feel better.
Yeah. Look at that.
It's crazy. All right. So that was the
That was
mentoring.
beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't remember the last one.
You gave them a whole lot to think about. So.
I just posted on. I can't remember the last question, but
well, you kind of already answered it. But
okay.
One of the things that you mentioned is this 4-hour time block, right? And whether it's 2 hours and 2 hours or 3 and 1 doesn't matter. And it doesn't have to be a routine, but to get into a rhythm, some sort of repetitious rhythm where you've got some cadence of actually carving out time to give to yourself, whether it's to do inner work, to read, to work on a project on the side, whatever it is, but carve out that time.
It's important. And then here's the default answer that 99% of people will give you for saying that. But I'm too busy at work. Or let me, I can't because I got to get this 5-year plan done. Or I got a meeting to go to. Again, that's the educational system or whatever your company is teaching you. You have now put yourself in a position where you're building their life book and ignoring yours. You cannot ignore your life book because they will spit you out at the end. And there's going to come a time. This is why real estate was so powerful for me. But there's going to come a time where you either don't want to work, you physically cannot work, or they're going to tell you you've aged out. And if you don't create and protect time to do all the things that you and I were talking about, it's going to spit you out. I had my freedom, technically, financial freedom. There's many kinds of freedom. But I had my freedom at 38. I stayed. I wanted the experience. I was spitting them out. Give me the check. I'll invest in real estate. I will stay here and do good by you because this is mutual. But I'm going to spit you out when I'm done. And I did. And lastly, I'm grateful to Accenture. I am very grateful to that company. When I left, it was my 25th year. That was October 31st, 2021. And it makes me emotional. The next day, November the 1st, I went to my computer and I typed in mail.accenture.com and it didn't come up. Neural pathways. I was so used to it. 2 days later, my boss called me to check on me because she knew it would be emotional, right? A week later, it was like I never existed.
Right.
I was gone. You think 25 years of you being in one place, the information void would be so much that they would be calling you back to include clients and stuff like that. Erin, it was like I did not exist.
Yeah.
So had I not created and protected time and invested in real estate and built the life book and took care of myself, going to Turkey, doing the military stuff, and what are you left with? You have to be very careful. And to your point, you have to be intentional and create time for it.
Yes, I love that. Maurice, where can people find you? Because I know they're going to want to find you.
Yeah. Trylifeon.com is the easiest way. Trylifeon.com. Maurice at trylifeon.com is my email address. I always answer. I can also be found on LinkedIn, just Maurice Philogene.
Well, I'm excited for people to not only hear this episode, but then to dig into all the great things that you offer. And I know you've got a huge following on LinkedIn. So
Yeah, it's nice.
the content that you share is very, very inspiring. And so people will find you soon. Thank you so much for your time.
My
This
pleasure.
has
Thank you for
been
having me.
truly my pleasure. And I'm so happy to have met you and to have such a kindred soul that I have now connected with. We'll have many more deep conversations
Absolutely.
beyond
Because
this.
you're coming on my podcast too.
Exactly. Well,
Exactly.
thank you again. It's
My
been so
pleasure.
fun to have you.
My pleasure.